11.2b is on solving systems of equations by substitution. So we're going to have two quadratics and we're going to solve them by substitution. So we're going to have these same three steps. We want to set our equations equal to each other. Then we solve for x using we could use our quadratic formula. We could factor, we could complete the square, or whatever you prefer. Remember, you get to choose your method, but make sure that you are very, very comfortable with these methods, right? And so if you always want to use the quadratic formula, go ahead and always use the quadratic formula. It, again, is up to your personal preference. And then step 3, plug x in to find y. So let's jump right in and look at a couple of examples. Solve the system by substitution. Well, step 1 is to set our equations equal to each other. So we have x squared minus 7x plus 5 equals x squared minus 4x plus 11. Well, now that we have our equations equal to each other, we want to get everything on one side. So I'm going to combine my like terms. I've got my x squareds, which I can combine. And then let's see, we've got the opposite of subtracting 4x is adding 4x. So we can take negative 7x and add 4x. And then last but not least, we have our, let me get a different color here. We can look at our positive 11. Well, the inverse of adding 11 is subtracting 11. So everything on this right-hand side is going to cancel out, and we just have to combine everything on the left-hand side. Well, x squared minus x squared is just 0. Negative 7x plus 4x is negative 3x. 5 minus 11 is negative 6, and this is equal to 0. Well, now we're ready to solve for x. So since this is just a linear equation, we can just solve by isolating x. So I'm going to add 6 on both sides. Negative 3x equals 6. Well, the inverse of multiplying by negative 3 is dividing by negative 3. So x is equal to 6 divided by negative 3 is negative 2. So for this problem, we found one x value, so that means we are going to have one solution. And to find it, we just need to take this x value and plug it into one of these equations. It really doesn't matter which one, you just have to pick. So I'm going to plug it into this bottom one. We'll have negative 2 squared minus 4 times negative 2 plus 11. Well, 4 plus 8 plus 11 is going to give us 12 plus 11, which is 23. Our solution is negative 2, positive 23, and that is our answer. Let's look at a couple more. So solve the system by substitution. So again, we're going to follow those 3 steps. X squared plus x minus 6 equals negative x squared minus 3x. Then we are going to move our terms to the same side. So I'm going to add x squared to both sides and add 3x. All right, well, x squared plus x squared is 2x squared. X plus 3x is 4x. We didn't change our negative 6 at all, and everything on that right-hand side cancels out to 0. So this time we have 2x squared plus 4x minus 6 equals 0. Notice that this is a quadratic, so we have to use our quadratic formula, our factoring, or our completing the square method. And you can pick any one you want. It really doesn't matter. I'm going to go for my completing the square method. So I'm going to get a equal to 1. So that means I have to divide everything by 2. So x squared plus 2x minus 3 equals 0. I'm going to add 3 to both sides. X squared plus 2x equals 3. Or remember, we take b divided by 2 and square it. So this would be 2 divided by 2 squared, which is just 1 squared. So we will add 1 to both sides. Add 1 to both sides. Well, when we factor x squared plus 2x plus 1, that's going to be x plus 1, because 1 times 1 is 1. 1 plus 1 is 2, equal to 4. So if we have x plus 1 squared equals 4, this is where our square root method comes in. These cancel each other out. We get x plus 1 equals plus or minus 2. Then we can subtract our 1 from both sides. X equals -1 plus or minus 2, so x is -3, or x is +1. And then we'll just plug those in. Again, it doesn't matter which formula or which original equation you plug them into, you just have to pick one. So we have a negative times -3 squared minus 3 times -3, which is a negative times 9 plus 9, so that's just 0. So when x is -3, y is 0. Then we've got when x is 1, well, that's negative times 1 squared minus 3 times 1. So -1 minus 3 is just -4. So when x is 1, y is -4. We had 2x values that we found, so it makes sense that we found 2 solutions as our final answer. Let's look at one more problem. Going to set these equal to each other. X squared plus 4x plus 4 equals -x squared plus 4x minus 4. All right, well, let's get everything to one side. This would be a really great time to pause the video and try to finish this problem up for yourself. I'm just going to combine all of my like terms. So everything on my right side cancels out. And I got 2x squared, 4x minus 4x is 0, plus 8 equals 0. So 2x squared plus 8 equals 0. So since I have no bx term, I can actually use the square root method to solve this. So I'm going to subtract 8 from both sides. Well, 2x squared equals -8. I'm going to divide 2. X squared equals -4. When I take the square root of both sides, oh, I cannot take the square root of -4, so that means I have no x values, which means this has no solutions. And that is how we solve systems of quadratics using our substitution method.